Hey gang! Welcome to Kerala, India. In this quick video, I'll share my experience in Kerala's backwaters. And I'll show you the main differences between the busy Alleppey and the more tranquil and authentic Munroe Island. So if you're planning a trip and you don't know which to choose, I'll show you why Munroe Island was actually my favorite of the two locations. We got to Alleppey by train, departing from Cochin. Cochin, same thing by the way. The train station in Cochin is called Ernakulam Junction. You don't have to buy a ticket ahead, you can buy it on the spot. It can be a bit tricky to find your train because they are all massively delayed. The train station in Alleppey, by the way, it's called Alappuzha. Alleppey, Alappuzha, same thing. It was renamed in 1990 apparently. Now on the train we went into the ladies' compartment. The train tickets are very affordable. And that train journey was absolutely fine. We had seats, it smelled okay. It's funny to see the doors wide open. But that was it. Apart from that, it could have been a train in Southern Europe. As you'll see later in this video, it's not always the case. Some of the trains can be busy, dirty and smelly. If you're not into trains, you can of course also take a taxi. I'm guessing it would have been about like 35 euros. You could even hire a driver for a week. A lot of people visiting Kerala actually do that, and it's really not as expensive as you'd imagine. We stuck to train. And then tuk-tuk. Arriving at our guest house, little surprise. That was an Indian palm squirrel, a very noisy one. Now, Alleppey is lovely. We had only booked one night in a guest house, because originally the plan was to go on a houseboat the next day. That's what a lot of people do around here. See those little glasses? They look like Harry Potter's glasses. They're actually Gandhi's. You'll also spot that little logo on banknotes. It is the symbol of an organization that tries to keep India clean. As sadly, there are not a lot of public trash cans or anything like that. And a lot of people are burning their own rubbish, or sometimes simply littering around. Lack of public money, I guess. To go and explore the backwaters, you mainly have those big houseboats where you spend the night, or those little shikara boats. Originally, our plan was the houseboat, but it was actually a bit much for our budget. Time for a little masala chai. That's one of the things I loved in India. Even when you have a normal tea, sometimes they're a bit spicy anyway. So yeah, a bedroom in one of those houseboats turned up to be a bit too expensive. Now, bearing in mind that we visited between Christmas and New Year's, a lot of those houseboats were fully booked anyway. We jumped in a tuk-tuk to go and have a dinner on the beach side, on the other side of town. And as you can see, traffic is busy, with a lot of honking. So yeah, the houseboats, the best price we could find was about 150 euro for a night. And that would still be a houseboat with another 3 or 4 bedrooms. So maybe 6 or 7 couples in total. Oh, I say couples because you can choose not to have any kids on the boat. That's always a positive. Now, don't be surprised if you see any of those graffitis that look very communist. Kerala is, I believe, the only state in India at the moment with communist politicians in power. Alleppey is quite nice to explore in the evening as well. We stayed in a lovely little guest house with noisy squirrels, but also a lot of birds. So we decided not to go for the houseboat. Instead, we went for a 3 hours ride on a shikara boat. Private. Just us and the driver. Not that we really wanted it to be private, but the group ones, it was only sunset or sunrise. We did not want to wake up, really. And even that was not cheap. We paid about 6,000 rupees after hard negotiating. That's about 65 US dollars, I think, for a 3 hours ride. That was actually a little bit long. Don't expect to have 3 hours of guided information. A lot of the drivers would have a limited level of English. As we cruised along, though, we ran into some of those houseboats, and we were really glad we didn't book them. You'll see a lot of those ladies doing the laundry into the backwaters. It is not recommended to swim, by the way, because they are a bit polluted, but local people clearly do. You'll see a lot of men diving, they're looking for little shellfish on the floor. So yeah, we were glad we didn't book those houseboats because they were playing loud music, and to be honest, I think we would have been bored staying on them for like 20 hours. The backwaters were lovely to explore, but you can see that it's a huge touristy attraction. You'll run into a lot of other boats. You'll see rice plantations. Alleppey is also known as the rice bowl of Kerala. Kerala is also known as God's own country, mainly because of Hindu mythology, as well as Hindu literature called Puranas, which portrays Kerala as the land favored by the gods. This was filmed in December 2024, by the way. There are some very fancy houses as well. I'm glad I got to visit Kerala now, because in a few years, a lot of it might be underwater, sadly, due to global warming. Time to jump on a train to go towards Munroe Island. You can buy your ticket at the train station. Again, it's very affordable. But train can come with its own challenges. Oh, by the way, don't be surprised to see people crossing on the platform. Absolutely normal. So yeah, you can buy your ticket, but you don't really have a time or a platform. Or if you go to the toilet, mind the escalator. They probably just meant mind the step, but that made us smile. After finally finding our train, it was very busy. We ended up sitting on the luggage compartment, above people's head. It can be a bit tricky to climb up, because it's not really been designed for humans, it's for luggage. Hey! It can also be a bit tricky to jump off when it's busy on the ground floor with babies and families. Now, we were maybe just unlucky, but that train was absolutely filthy. Like if it had not been cleaned for weeks. And the smell was absolutely horrendous. It was honestly very bad, like an open sewer in the sun. It didn't seem to put people off, though. Some people were eating. No one was actually beating an eyelid. We survived that little train adventure. Then jumped on a tuk-tuk towards Munroe Island. Munroe Island is much more authentic, much more untouched. By tourism, I mean. We stayed in a lovely little guest house, meters away from the water, with our own little bungalow. including breakfast, for €13 that night. We had a lovely dinner. This is a fish polichatro. Apology if I butchered the name. It's a freshwater fish cooked with a masala. A masala is a mix of spices. It was cooked in a banana leaf. When you go to little eateries in Kerala, you might spot those little containers of water, free water. Pink! It's actually known as rosewood water. It's a pink wood called patimungam. You put little bits of it in boiling water. It has some antibacterial properties and also tons of health benefits. It is Ayurvedic. That is how you call the natural medicines here. Now, the next morning, we woke up very early to go on a boat on the backwaters to go and see the sunrise. We left, it was pitch black, on a private little boat with our own captain. Some of the bridges are very low, so you might have to duck your head down, sometimes very down like this. That was the sound of me bumping my head under the next one. Those backwaters are much quieter than it is in Alleppey. It was high tide when we visited, and sadly some people had been a little bit flooded. It's easy to imagine how, in a few years, a lot of people would lose their homes over here. It is still fairly unknown. We did not see that many other boats, maybe 2 at the sunrise point. And it was also far cheaper. We only paid 2,000 rupees for that excursion, as opposed to 6,000 in Alleppey. You'll see a lot of wildlife, egrets, eagles, and also some interesting black ducks that can swim a lot underwater. See, the captain there is wearing a lurki. This traditional outfit has different names across India. A lot of men in Kerala are actually wearing it. It's not religious, it's just traditional. It takes a lot of confidence, because it could fall any time. It's like wearing a towel around your waist. This is the main Instagram spot, by the way. I imagine that in a few years, Munroe Island might be much more developed in terms of tourism, thanks to Instagram and YouTubers like me. So if you were in the process of planning a trip to Kerala and you had to choose between Alleppey and Munroe Island, Personally, I'd choose Munroe Island because it's much more authentic, it's much quieter, it is beautiful, and it is a little bit cheaper. But if you like busy places with a lot of things to do in the evening and access to the beach, then you might prefer Alleppey then. In terms of restaurants and stuff to do in the evening, there's definitely much more to do in Alleppey. If you want to find yourself a bar or a drink, again, it's much easier in Alleppey. Alcohol is not very easily available in Kerala, by the way. This is a fish farm. You can see they placed those nets above it to stop the eagles from taking the fish. Oh, cute. Another little furry friend. The Indian palm squirrel. They've got stripes on their backs, almost like a chipmunk. Those white birds are always next to the cows. They seem to be best mates. Anyway, time to jump back on a train to go down towards Varkala. The station is called Munroe. And that train was not too bad. There was a bit of a smell coming from the toilets, but that can happen in any train, really. I hope you enjoyed that little video. If you have any questions, if you're planning a trip, do pop them in the comments section. And if you are a local and have any suggestions, do pop them in the comments as well. There is something I love about Indian trains, though. It is somehow dangerously exciting to pop your head out of the window. Bye!